You've seen the term, you've seen the posts. Shadow work. It's trending, buzzing, floating through every corner of the spiritual and self-help internet. But something about it hits deeper, doesn't it? Darker, heavier, more mysterious. It's not as shiny as manifestation, not as soft as self-love. It doesn't sparkle. And maybe that's why you're drawn to it, because it doesn't pretend, because it hints at something more raw, more real. But let's be clear from the start. This isn't aesthetic darkness. This isn't about candles and playlists and mood lighting. This is about truth. This is about integration. This is about facing what you spent years avoiding and finding the parts of you that never stopped waiting. Shadow work isn't about becoming darker. It's about becoming whole. Carl Jung called it the shadow, all the unconscious parts of you that you've disowned, rejected, or buried. The thoughts you hide, the urges you judge, the feelings you wish weren't yours. But they are, and they don't disappear just because you pretend. Shadow work is not self-indulgence. It's not about spiraling into shame, and it's not a trendy excuse to be reckless. It's not digging to trauma just to feel something. It's not labeling every wound. It's not staying stuck. It's not aesthetic. It's alchemical. It's not about making the shadow your identity. It's about making peace with its presence. Carl Jung gave us the map. He taught that the shadow isn't evil. It's unacknowledged. The parts of you that couldn't exist in the light. So they found refuge in the dark. Not gone, just hidden. But what you bury doesn't die. It festers. It leaks. It controls you from the background. That's why integration matters. Not for perfection, for freedom. So when you bring the shadow into the light, you stop being split. You become whole. And others have carried this wisdom too. The Hawaiians call it ho'oponopono, the act of making things right again, a return to harmony. Modern voices like Kamal Ravikant, author of Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, have shown us how simple it can be. I love myself, repeated, felt, meant. Not theory speak, no guru fluff, just remembrance. You are not just light, you are everything. Here's the thing, most of what we call the shadow is just a wounded inner child, the version of you that was told you're too much, too sensitive, too needy, too loud, too weird. So you split, you edited yourself, you became digestible, and you left those pieces behind. But they didn't leave you. They became anger, they became anxiety, they became self-sabotage. They became the voice in your head that says you're not enough. Shadow work is how you return to them, how you stop exiling your own heart. You don't rescue those parts by shaming them into silence. You meet them with gentleness, with presence, with breath. Because your unconscious is not dormant, it's active, it's alive. The patterns you can't break, that's your shadow at work. The same arguments you keep having, the fears that flare up when things go well, the way you choose love that feels familiar, not safe. The more you repress, the more you project. The more you deny, the more you attract. You think you're moving forward, but your shadow is steering the wheel. Shadow work is how you take your power back, not by force, but by reunion. Real confidence doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from being whole. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need to love the parts of you that you have forgotten. Your body keeps the score. Your nervous system isn't just wiring, it's a story. Every unprocessed emotion you've stored, every shutdown, every moment you braced instead of breathed, is still there. Shadow work helps you come back to safety, not by avoiding discomfort, but by learning to stay with it. Letting go and shadow work are cousins. Both are acts of softening. Both are ways of saying, I don't need to fight this anymore. You don't regulate your nervous system by pretending nothing's wrong. You regulate it by slowly showing it that you're not abandoning it again. Presence is the medicine. Integration is the release. This is the descent, the remembering, the peeling back. Not to shame, not to wallow, but to see, to reclaim, to re-embody. Because this is not about becoming something new. It's about finally including who you've always been. You've begun. You've sat with the ache. You've turned toward the shadow. You've touched the wound without turning away. And now comes the real work. Not just awareness, but return. So let's come back to the core. Notice, locate, allow. Sounds simple until it isn't. Until the old patterns flare. Until the discomfort rises like a wave. Until your nervous system says, this isn't safe. That's when most people flinch. That's when they go back into story, back into the mind, back into fixing. But you stay. You create a sanctuary inside yourself. You become the calm center in the storm. You become the parent you never had. The space your younger self always needed. And when it gets hard, when the voice says this isn't working, you speak gently. You remind yourself this isn't about progress. This is about presence. Soften, breathe, and sometimes whisper a truth. I love myself. Even when it feels untrue, especially when it feels untrue. That phrase, simple, repetitive, absurdly powerful, isn't logic, it's medicine. Love yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. You repeat it, not to believe it, but to give your shadow a sound it's never heard. Love heals because it holds, not because it understands. Tears you never cried still live somewhere in your chest. Breathe. They are waiting. Before we go deeper, pause. This part may bring up emotion. It may stir old grief. That's okay. The words aren't magic. Your presence is. Let your inner child hear it, as if for the first time. I see you. I know you were scared. I know you didn't know where to put all that feeling. You thought you had to hide, to be good, to be quiet, to be small. You thought your bigness was dangerous, your sadness was a burden, your anger made you unlovable. But you were only ever trying to protect me. You held the ache so I could carry on. You stayed hidden so I could be seen. And now, you don't have to carry that alone. You can rest. You can come home. I won't leave you in the dark again. I will not exile you for being human. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not wrong. You are sacred. You are safe. And I will never abandon you again. This is where the shift happens. You realize the monster and the child were never separate. One was grieving, one was guarding, but both were waiting for you. This is the moment in the story when the monster becomes the guide. When the beast guarding the cave lays down beside the child. When you realize the thing you were most afraid to face was the key to your freedom. You were never meant to slay the dragon. You were meant to hear its cry. And when you did, you found the treasure. The exile returns. The lost part becomes the protector. The shadow is no longer chasing you because you turn around and walk with it. You do not become good by amputating what you fear. You become whole by including it. The line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. To pretend otherwise is to remain split. Shadow work is not about becoming dark. It's about seeing clearly in the dark and realizing you are still light. You're not here to act on every impulse, but to understand where it came from and choose consciously. Power is not control, it is awareness. When you stop rejecting what hurt, it stops hurting so loudly. You stop leaking energy into shame. You reclaim the force you once used to hide. And now, it becomes presence, it becomes magnetism, it becomes grace. Shadow work isn't the opposite of the light, it's the path to it. You don't rise by erasing the past, you rise by loving it. One loosens the grip, the other shines the light. Wholeness is not perfection, it's radical inclusion. You stand now in the full light, every shadow behind you, and somehow part of you. You are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. Only seen, only held, only welcomed home.